Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt at the motorcycle racing TV show, Team Challenge. My email is tdan45@gmail.com. We're at Rosemont, Illinois, Stevens Convention Center for the Muscle Car and Corvette Masters. I'm looking at all these great cars. I mean, you know I'm a motorcycle racer, but you gotta appreciate cars. And my coolest car I ever owned was a 63 Chevy, and I found a 63 Chevy that's as cool as my car, but even better. And we're gonna talk to some of the people with Avantes. We're gonna talk to a guy who found a nice barn find. There's some great cars here. This could be a pretty good TV show. Don't forget my email, tdan45@gmail.com. We are at the Donald Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. It is on Friday, November 22nd. We're here for the Muscle Car and Corvette show, and we're watching vehicles arriving and unloading. I love getting here early, but I have the opportunity to talk to many more people as we see the different folks arriving, bringing their vehicles, their lovely cars. We're in an area in the back of the convention center where they have the barn finds and hidden gems. These are cars that people have purchased, important cars from the era, the 1960s, the 1970s, 1980s. We're looking back at special cars, muscle cars from that era, barn finds, and hidden gems. Great cars from a great time. A Pontiac, a Ford, a Corvette, and I finally spotted this 1970 Plymouth Superbird, and I had the opportunity to talk to the owner, Rodney Carter, and he's going to tell us all about his 1970 Plymouth Superbird and the story behind it. Let's go to that right now and learn about this lovely car.
Rodney Carter out of Dallas, Texas area, Denton. 70 model 446 pack Superbird. Was found in a barn about 8 years ago. Been chasing it since 2017 August on it. It's a 26,000 original mile car. The original owner I've talked to parked it in 1974, bought it new in 70, sold it to the guy I got it from in 1977, and he had it in his barn, which I looked at in August of 2017, and I ended up putting the deal together and buying the car March of this year. So we got it fixed up, cranked the motor for the first time since 1974, about 4 weeks ago. Cranked it up, didn't have brakes, took it to one show, got the brakes working, so we brought it here to Manhattan. And now the goal is to try to get it running and driving completely, and it is at the moment, but it needs head gaskets. And then we'll go through it and get it back keep it as original, untouched, unrestored as we can. We've got the original fan belts in the trunk, all the original pieces came off. Literally nothing's been replaced on the car other than spark plugs to get it cranked up, polish some points, hit the key, and cranked it up.
So what's something like this worth when you're done?
Don't know. Kind of going to find that out this weekend here.
Oh, okay. By talking to other people.
A car like this is probably worth 200 to 400, depending, because of the mileage. What makes this one kind of a strange direction to go is it needs some work, but they're only original once. So there's 20. I went to a show a couple weeks ago at the Winged Warriors. There was 40 white Superbirds there. But this one was the only one that's unrestored, and it got more attention because the other 39 looked just like each other. They were brand new.
Right.
Whereas this one's never been rebuilt. Nothing's been pulled off of it. It's the way it showed up off the showroom floor, down to the mag wheels that are on it, the cracked, rotten tires that are full of green slime so they won't leak down during the show. And they're square as a buckboard, so it's like driving buckboard right now. But they're good for about 5 miles an hour getting into the show, and that's it.
Right. So I noticed it's got the tack out here. Is that an option that was back then?
Tack on the dash. These are scoops to allow for room, air get out from the fenders where you run down.
But it came with the tack.
Came with a tack. Everything you see here is just like I got the car out of the barn, other than I got about 100 pounds of dirt off of it.
So the original owner, he had it for 4 years. Did he drive it somewhat and
Put 26,000 miles on it.
Right.
The guy that he sold it to, which I made friends with, moved from Pennsylvania down to Sherman, Whitesboro, Texas area, and he never drove it. He come off the trailer, put it in a barn, and that's where it sat since 1977.
And he never
The
just
first
bought
time,
it to own it, more or
that was
less.
it. But he's kind of a hoarder. He's got probably another 100 cars out there in the field, some rotten down. I keep trying to tell him, he's 71 years old, it's time for it to go away. Start doing something with it.
So that's amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Well, without brakes, without tires, you have once you get it fixed up, you'll be able to see how well it runs.
Right. Well, it runs and drives right now, but the head gaskets are bad on it, which may have been why it was parked originally in 74, not certain. But as soon as I put water in it, it started bubbling back out with a cold, so you know that's head gaskets. Also, they were metal head gaskets, so they could have just rusted, sitting for so many years like that.
Right.
The radiator's completely crudded out. The evaporator core's rusted also. The radiator's done, but I got to pull the evaporator core out and send it off, get it rebuilt. I mean, not evaporator, heater core. And then after that, we're going to pull the head gaskets after this show, and then see what else it needs. But right now it runs and drives. Got the brakes all working, power brake, everything works on it. I didn't put a light bulb in it. I literally put 8 spark plugs in it and changed all the fuel lines and cranked it.
So you're not even going to worry about painting the front here. You're going to leave it as is.
Not at the present time.
Right.
I'm here this week getting to learn a lot and see which way they should go. I've got another car that's only 36,000 miles, but it's already been restored multiple times.
Right.
So I can't do, but this one's never been touched. So it's apparently as
I got to drive, the great things I got to do, a 1910 Harley Davidson.
There you go.
Original. And the same owner there, Jim Kirstein, said it took, back then when I drove, he said it took 100 years for this paint to look like this.
Right.
And it's really worth more money as not painted in the original. And I got to ride it, and you know, it's the same thing. They spent a lot of time fixing the engine. They didn't take the engine apart, the engine ambit apart, but you know, to get the ignition working and all that. And I got to ride it, and it's pretty impressive. So
this one, the motor didn't come apart. I've not even pulled the valve cover. We rebuilt the carburetors. They looked new inside, and it still had 6 gallons of gas in the tank. It was still liquid. I was surprised. It's not this junk we have now. I siphoned out. The tank was clean. We cleaned it up.
Right.
And put some fuel down the carburetor and it cranked right up.
That's great.
So it's crazy, but you know, we're still playing with it, find out what else we can survive. But everything on it works. Even the AM radios, sit there and tune it right in and play it.
Thank you, Rodney. This year, the folks from the Muscle Car and Corvette National have picked the GTO to be on the red carpet at the entrance of this great show from the 1964 to 1974, using the Tempest body or the Le Mans body. You could have ordered the 389 or the 421 engine with tri-power at that time. There's a 1964 Tempest with a 421 tri-power and a 4-speed. This is the car that appeared on the cover of the program. GTO's considered maybe the first muscle car, big engines in mid-sized cars. And then I spotted this great looking 1963 Chevy, a Z11 with a big block engine, and I had a chance to talk to the owner, Pat Loeb.
Yes, my name is Pat Loeb, and I'm from Dallas, Texas. And I have a couple of cars here. I've got this 1963 Chevrolet, what's called an RPO Z11, which is a regular production option code that you would check to be able to order the car. But before that, you had to have special permission to buy it from Chevrolet. They only made 50 of them, and I don't remember how many are left. Maybe it's less than 15, I think, that have been found in various stages of restoration, and some that still need to be restored. What made the car special in 1963 was the car was equipped with aluminum fenders, aluminum hood, aluminum bumpers. Even the bumper brackets themselves were aluminum. All the mounting brackets, the grille shield, rock shield here was aluminum, and it had a special stroked 409 engine that was 427 cubic inches. However, it has, instead of having the typical Chevrolet one-piece intake manifold, it has a two-piece intake manifold with a valley cover and then a high-rise intake manifold that sits on top of that. So it was it allowed the engine to breathe better, and it kept the fuel from getting heated up as the engine heated up. So, like I said, they made 50 of these, and it's been this particular car was ordered by a gentleman by the name of Dave Colbert. And it was built. It was the next to the last car built by Chevrolet, because they entered into their edict where they stopped racing, and everybody went crazy when that happened. A lot of people bought all these cars and equipment, and Chevrolet stopped racing. What had happened, and you can research, but General Motors at that time had over 60% market share. And with that, they had not only that market share, but Chevrolet had some gigantic piece of that market share. And as a result, the federal government was going to break them up. They were going to break up Buick and Pontiac and Cadillac into separate divisions on their own and not be part of General Motors. So the bean counters said, we can't do this. So they said, we've got to slow sales down somehow. Therefore, they issued an edict to stop racing. And this was the next to the last car built before the edict came into effect when this car was being built. But having said that, a lot of Chevrolet owners continued to race, and there were a lot of skunk work developments that were going on at the time, like this particular engine being based off of the 409. Well, there was also an engine that was called the Mystery Motor that ultimately became what we know today as the next generation 396 427. And so we have that engine here as well. Plus I have this other car, this black 62. It too has an aluminum front end. And it's one of just a handful that were known to exist with the special engine like this and the aluminum front end, all done in 1962. So that was Chevrolet's way of saying, we know this edict is coming, we know this ban is coming, so let's see how fast we can go, how much horsepower we can generate, how many lightweight cars we can build, and get them into the marketplace before everything is shut down.
Okay, so how much does this car weigh compared to a stock?
This car weighs 3,350 pounds compared to about 3,650 for a stock car.
Okay, because I told you, my cool car when I was a teenager, I had a 63 Chevy Super Sport 327 with a 4-speed. And I don't know if it was a 250 horse or 300 horse. Great car,
yeah, for sure.
It was my favorite. And then I found out about motorcycle racing, so cars have no meaning. All right, so this one here, and this one's got the old, as a 62, this has got the early...
This is a 62 bubble top.
Bubble top.
They call it.
Right.
It's because of the style of the windshield and the back glass. It's got a slight raised area at the top.
It doesn't have
It has a little bit of a bubble look to it.
But they had that hood in 62 also.
61, 62,
right.
Quite a few years. Actually, Buicks and Pontiacs and Oldsmobiles had it as well.
It's the same thing. Right.
Same basic style.
So this one here also has the 409.
This is the precursor. This engine is car is a precursor to the 63 Z11.
Right.
This was the Chevrolet's effort to go racing by building the parts and shipping them to the drag racers of the day.
Okay.
They built 18 cars, but they were not like this.
Right.
There's one over here, one of the 62 of one of the original 18. But these cars that were built by the drag racers of the day. The Hayden Prophets, the Don Nicholsons, the Dick Carrolls, Frank Sanders.
Right,
So
right. Names that I remember, yes.
Those are the guys that Chevrolet shipped these parts to. Hayden Prophet, for instance, received this engine 1 week, and then about a week or two later in July, he received the aluminum front end. And his 62 in 1962, with all of the aluminum components on it and the special engine componentry, ran in the 1190s, which was unheard of in the day.
In
So
62,
in
yes.
1962.
Right.
If you remember, we had to have 7-inch tires back then.
Right. That's true.
So it did work.
Right.
And then from this, they developed the 63 version
Wow.
that we see here.
So how did you get these cars? Have you been shopping for them for many years?
I did a lot of racing myself in the 60s, and I knew about the cars, etc. And I ended up with you know how you buy things, and then pretty soon another car comes along and you acquire that car. So
Right.
that's what happened here. You know, I've had this car quite a while, and I've had this for probably 15 years.
What did you pay for something like this back then?
A whole lot of money. Back then, well, I've got the sticker on these, and they were like $4,100.
And what are they
That's
worth
a
now?
lot of money.
Right.
That's probably $350,000.
Right.
Guess.
Oh, these are
Probably something comparable for
these
this
are
one.
these are really
So-
class. So tell me a little bit more about that engine over there. What year is that engine?
The engine is also a 1963
Okay.
427,
Right.
and it's what's called a mystery motor, because Chevrolet, when they went to NASCAR, first of all, this engine in this white car is a drag race car.
Right.
This engine over here is a NASCAR roundy.
So they were going to go.
So they were doing them both at the same time, both under the same roof, two separate departments. A guy by the name of Dick Kyneth was the engineer who developed this mystery motor, and then Zora Arcus Duntov, believe it or not, father of the Corvette,
Right.
developed the Z11 engine. So, matter of fact, the casting dates on the various parts of these two engines overlap each other. So they were building these parts at the same time.
So when
Two
they came out
completely
with the
different designs.
66 Chevelle with the 396.
65 Chevelle, 396.
Oh, they had
200.
396. Oh,
In 65, they made
Okay,
200
okay.
of them.
and that was that
That
engine.
was this engine. Except it was a 396.
396,
Right, cubic
427
inch. Right.
big block Chevys.
It was that, except it was not that engine.
Right.
There are no parts on those engines that will interchange with this engine.
Right. But that was the basic
That was
beginning.
the basic design.
To run
That was to run NASCAR.
NASCAR, right? The oval stuff.
That's right.
And then eventually, those cars were getting way too fast.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. Chevrolet did a speed test at their closed track, and in 1963, a full-bodied Chevrolet set up for NASCAR racing with that engine. You're going to keep in mind, in 63, they ran, 160, 165, 168, something like that.
Right.
They ran 181 miles an hour with that engine.
And those cars were not built to even go
They were
that
a brick.
fast.
It was a brick pushing through the air.
Yeah, but suspension and everything else
Oh, yeah,
was
no,
really
right.
not up to that
But
speed.
it was a NASCAR. It was a car developed for NASCAR racing with
Right.
proper suspension.
Right.
But it ran 180 miles an hour.
Right.
So
Yep.
anyway,
Thank you. I appreciate all this
bet.
history.
thanks for sharing. Nice to share.
Thank you, Pat. As we will see, there was a great number of factory lightweights that were created in that 1960 era. Fords, Chrysler products, GM cars, and the folks from the Muscle Car and Corvette National have assembled a great number of these lightweight cars, aluminum front ends, and I spot this Pontiac with a 421 with two quads, and I had the opportunity to talk to Sam Williford.
Sam Williford. I've got a 1962 Super-Duty 421 Pontiac Catalina. It's an original factory lightweight, meaning the whole front end is aluminum. The hoods, the outer fenders, the inner fenders, and both the front and rear bumpers. The car originally came with steel outside fenders, but during its racing career, the original driver actually found another Mandalay red car that had retired, and they, back in around 66, they swapped out and put the aluminum fenders on the car. It's one of 162 Super Duty 421s. It's one of 88 with the aluminum front end package. The car has an original Super Duty engine. It's not the original to the car, but it is a correct block, late model heads. This car was built in June of 62. It's number 147 out of 162. So it has the correct late model heads that came out, I believe, in April of 62. Correct front and rear carburetors. It does have the original intake manifold still on the car. It was kind of bought and sold, but a man named Louis Sharp primarily raced it throughout its career out of Jackson, Mississippi. Louis is 85 years young still, and so I've known about the car since I was a teenager. My father still has the first brand new car he ever bought, which is a red 67 Pontiac GTO. And Louis was the body shop manager at the local Chevrolet dealership in Canton, Mississippi. And we took the car up there to get a price quote on a paint job. And Louis brought me back to his office and said, "Come here, I want to show you something." He shows me this picture of a red this car, and I didn't know what a Super Duty was, but back then I went home and read my Pontiac and GTO books and learned about it. So I'd always wondered what happened to the car. He told me back at his time, around 87, 88, that a man, all I remember is out west, bought the car. But long story short, I was able to find out that Eugene Riot out of Ardmore, Oklahoma, bought the car, and he finished it in 2011, and it debuted at the Pontiac Oakland Nationals that year. And through another friend, Bill Kirk, we were able to help Eugene Riot reconnect with Louis Sharp. We were going to the convention anyway. Louis got so excited, he came to the convention and was reunited with the car for the first time since he had sold it in 1969. Eugene and I just became friends, and I was fortunate enough that he gave me first opportunity to purchase the car when he finally decided to sell the car. But it scored 400 out of 400 points at its debut at the Pontiac Oakland Nationals, actually in the stock category.
Right.
And then I brought it to McCacken in 21 and got 991 out of 1,000. So we'll see how she does this year.
Thank you, Sam. And now we're going to look at some Corvettes. A very important part of this show is the issuing of the Triple Diamond certification. This is where Corvettes are judged. This is taking it to another level. They want their Corvettes to be exactly how they were when they drove out of the dealership. Let's listen in on some of the judging.
Rusty, so condition on that, and then also it's a wide ratio M20.
So we're good with this cramming?
Cramming is good. It's correctly dated, and it's got the correct VIN.
Replacement plans,
You know what?
these are not.
Same font. Same font.
A great team of judges are assembled for this Triple Diamond certification. And this year, this is the largest field of participants in this Triple Diamond certification program. This year, the variety of Corvettes stretched from 1954 to 2004. Here we see a great example of a 1963 split window coupe. Very lovely car. But my favorite Corvette is the 57 Corvette. I remember as a kid, 3 Corvettes parked on Whipple Street at Sunnyside. I never knew who owned them, but they always caught my eye. The 55, 56, and 57 Corvette, to this day, I still think they're the best. My friend, Russ Hayes, has a split window coupe 63 Corvette that he did a frame off restoration. But it is not a 100-point car. As we see these other Stingrays, this could be a 64, 65, but only the 63 was the split window Corvette. The judging continues for the Triple Diamond certification. In the lobby, I spot a couple Chicago police cars. One is a Chevy and one is a Ford. From the 1960s, they look like. For more information on the Muscle Car and Corvette National, it is mcacn.com. Make plans to come out in 2025. I had a great time at this show, and I hope you enjoy these TV shows that I have produced. To contact me, and I love to hear from my audience, it's teamdan45@gmail.com. Remember, you can always search on YouTube with Dan Schmitt Motorcycle Racing for great motorcycle racing action, Dan Schmitt Politics, to learn what makes America great. And I highly encourage you to visit the World of Motorcycle Museum. They're in Winamac, Indiana, 4 miles south of North Judson on Indiana Highway 39. But give them a call first at 574-896-3172. It's a great trip and a great collection of motorcycles. To pick up your copy of the Team Chicago History Package, stop by Rich's Yamaha in Lockport, Illinois. But give them a call first at 815-838-8130. Their website is richesyamaha.com. Pick up your package of the Team Chicago history. If you want to learn more about motorcycles, there's nothing like going to a swap meet. Here's a few dates in 2025: Springfield, Ohio, Princeton, Illinois, Shepherdsville, Kentucky, Woodstock, Illinois. Remember, walnutswap.com for more info.